Hi guys, and welcome back to Hilltop Farm, and welcome to lesson 4 in Wicca. Now, before I actually start the lesson, there are a couple of things I want to address. One is the comments below section below the videos. In the normal Hilltop Farm videos, you're more than welcome to point out if you think I've done something wrong, or perhaps point out a different way of doing something because you do something differently to me, and get into polite debates with people. That's not a problem. In the Wiccan videos, the rule is a bit different. Basically, the comment section below is exclusively for either words of encouragement or questions. If you have a question that is personal or you don't feel like airing in public, the email address of the school is down below, and you can email me with your question and I will get back to you, and then it's just between you and I. When I say words of encouragement, what I mean is, I'll give you an example. We've had a bit of trouble with, because Wicca, there's multiple paths and each people have slightly different beliefs. They might follow shaman or druidism or Celtism or ancient Roman or ancient Egyptian, whatever. They're all slightly different. And that's great. The diversity is wonderful. But we are teaching things this way. If there's an aspect of it that you don't agree with or you don't believe in, that's fine. You're perfectly entitled to that. But you don't leave a comment in the comments below to that effect. Because what you're in fact doing when you do that is, well, you might think you're pointing out what it is you follow, but in a way you're actually casting negative or negativity over the belief that someone else follows, and that won't be tolerated in these lessons or at this school. There is to be no negativity, whether you intend it or not. And don't get me wrong, a couple of people that this concerns, I'm sure, have not intended it, but nonetheless it has happened. What will happen whenever I see a comment that I feel is negative, I will delete it, which is what I've done. If I feel that person has repeatedly or is repeatedly leaving negative comments, then I will change the status of that person so they can still leave comments, but they don't show publicly until I approve them. And as I say, whether you like it or not is neither here nor there. Those are the rules of the school I'm running here, and students have to abide by them, I'm afraid. And the reason being, as I say, is because we are here to generate positivity amongst all students, regardless of their beliefs. There are aspects of it I don't believe in, but I accept that others do, and so you won't hear anything negative from me about those things. I just will not comment. So that's all about that. And the other thing I wanted to cover is some students are chomping at the bit and want to start performing spells and rituals and all the rest of it. As I pointed out at the beginning, you can't run until you can walk. I draw a parallel actually in here in today's lesson about that, because you can't drive a car until you know the rules of the road, you know where your safety belt is, you know where the brake is, and you know how these things, basically where they are and what they do. If you just get into a car without all that knowledge, you are going to crash and burn. And performing spells and ritual is the same. You need to know the basic rules and regulations, and you need to know how to protect yourself and others around you when you're doing it. Otherwise, it will all go wrong. Alright? And we are trying to lay that groundwork to get you started. Alright? So bear with me on that. Now, there's much to cover in today's lesson. I have brought some, but not all, tools before you here. Some of them are mine, some of them belong to my coven, and some of them belong to members of my coven who've been kind enough to loan them to me to show you today. So I thank them very much for that. And as I say, if I brought everything on, we'd never get this lesson finished. So I'm going to press on. Lesson 4. The tools of the craft. One of the first things that new students ask is, how soon can I get into ritual? Some covens will not let any newcomers do ritual until they have studied for a year and a day. My philosophy is that rituals are something that you should learn as you go, remembering that you have to walk before you can run. You would not get into a car and drive for the first time without knowing how to use the seat belts or knowing where the brake was. Witchcraft is the same. You need to know the basic rules and know how to protect yourself and those around you first. Most witches set up an altar in a room of their house. Some, who have the privacy to do so, use a secluded part of their garden for outdoor ritual. A few, who own or have access to land, can even work ritual in the bush or the woods, somewhere marvellous. But even if you live in a studio apartment in the middle of a bustling city, you can set up an altar that will be perfectly adequate. Just move the furniture hard up against the walls and work in the middle of the room. To make or buy. Before you begin any ritual work, you will need certain tools. In this lesson, we are going to take a closer look at some of these tools and give you plenty of time to acquire them. Students often ask whether all tools are really necessary. The answer to this is yes and no. It all depends on what you want. To the witches of old, witchcraft was kitchen sink magic. Many of them couldn't afford tools, and then during the times of persecution, they didn't dare have tools in their homes for fear of discovery. For these two reasons, they would improvise as much as possible. The athame would be the kitchen knife, the pentacle would be made of bread and eaten after the ritual, and the candles were not objects of suspicion in those days. On the other hand, many modern-day Wiccans enjoy the pomp and ceremony and like having specially dedicated tools for the ritual work. These people are probably the majority nowadays, and they take great pride in collecting the best tools possible. Others enjoy making them themselves, empowering them with great love and devotion at every stage in the manufacture. While another type again prefer very simple tools. Some inner city witches say they can't work outdoors and they can't afford the tools either. For them, it is hard at first, but if the desire is strong, they find a way. Tools are not expensive if you make them yourself or are prepared to wait until the right ones come along. The key is ingenuity. You are never given the problem without also being given the power to resolve it. And in finding that power within you, you grow as a person and a witch. Many young aspiring witches say they are upset because they live with their parents and cannot have magical tools. They feel they are not a witch without their tools. there is one important thing to remember. Tools do not make a witch. A witch makes the tools. We have everything inside of us to make it happen. The three most powerful tools for any successful magic to manifest are desire, visualization, and imagination. If you do not have these, your magic will not be successful, no matter how many tools you might have or how elaborate they might be. Your tools help you to concentrate, focus, and learn about yourself and your own strengths and weaknesses. Tools let you know that you are in a ritual space, that it is time to ground and to let go of the mundane world and prepare ourselves to communicate with the Lord and Lady. There is a very old tradition, however, that ritual tools must be brought without haggling. This is very important, as it will affect your attitude towards them for all time. The protocols applied to tools. You never touch another witch's tools without permission. All tools that are on the altar should be consecrated first. Any tool can be made from whatever material you have, preferably a natural one. Tools that you make yourself may often work better because you make them using your own energy and intent. Any tool purchased or otherwise acquired will need to have something done to it to add your original energy and bind it to you. This can be a simple carving, adding a gemstone, or painting it a different colour. The altar. An altar is your ritual desktop. It can hold all of your tools for whatever purpose you feel is important. It can also be a quiet spot where you can sit and meditate, write, and do whatever else you feel. It functions on both a practical and religious level, like most things in paganism. You can use almost anything as an altar, from a tree stump to a coffee table. Use whatever works for you. The main consideration is the location of your temple. Are you working outside or inside? If you are working inside, do you have a special room which you use for nothing else, or do you need to use your lounge and just move a bit of your furniture around? If you have the privacy, you can make your altar as ornate and esoteric as you wish. If your space has to double up as your front room, you may just have to put a cloth over your dining table. An altar is your sacred space, a place for you to be with and to communicate with the things that matter most to you in your spiritual path. It should be a reflection of what you feel is important. The setting up of your altar and the use of an altar cloth are things that will be covered in a future lesson. The goblet. You see? Now, just so as you know, we picked these up, I think they were a set of 6 or something like that. Now, it was either on eBay or Gumtree, and for those of you that don't know, Gumtree is the equivalent here in Australia to Craigslist. We do have Craigslist, but it's not very popular. Gumtree is much more popular. So there was a set of 6 of these, I think $15, something like that. We've also, on one occasion, I think my wife's goblet, she picked up from a charity shop or a second-hand shop for, I don't know, $2 or $3. Came home, gave it a polish, does the job beautifully. So, a goblet. That there. The goblet is your ritual cup, the womb of the goddess, and should not be used except during rituals. It is considered a cauldron on a stem, and is related to the element of water. It can be made of silver, gold, pottery, soapstone, alabaster, crystal, or any other natural material. Please note, brass has a chemical that produces a toxin when mixed with wine and some other drinks. If you notice a funny taste in your wine, do not use it. The goblet is also considered cups in the tarot cards. Now, wand. Everyone associates with witchcraft. In planning actually for this lesson, I realised I'm going to have to do a series of supplementary videos, because they're not really lessons, they're just more how-tos to help you, you know, on your path. So one of the how-tos I'm going to be doing is how to make your own wand. But here are some examples of wands. I don't know how well you can see them. I don't know if that shows it very well, but there's a whole series of them here. All handmade and hand painted beautifully. So that's one type of wand. As I say, we'll go through a how-to another video, as I say, not a lesson, completely different video about that. This one here has been lent to me by someone in our coven. Now she's only just bought this, so it's not been consecrated or anything like that, so I'm at liberty to handle it, and then she will cleanse it and do whatever she needs to do later. But it's absolutely beautiful. Can you see that? If I put something solid behind it, it often will then come up. See that? It's beautiful. It's actually a crystal wand made out of fluorite with various beads. We have an orb there, and of course the point is at this end. So yes, it came in a lovely box there to protect it. So thank you for letting us borrow that. The wand represents the element of air. The wand can be used to draw in and direct energies. It carries energy in a specific direction. You can also hold a feather, a quartz point, which was that last one I just showed you, stalk of dried wheat, or simply your fingers during rituals. Some traditions are very strict about the type of wand used. In this school, we teach the use of a willow wand. We do that to keep, because that's my wand of preference, and it keeps everything uniform, and everyone's doing the same with the same thing. As you progress down your path, you choose whatever wand you like. As you can see, one of our members has a crystal wand there. That's fine, that works for her, and I don't have a problem with that at all. We believe you must ask permission from the tree before taking a branch. The tree spirits are called dryads and can be very powerful. Keep them working with you, not against you, and your magic will benefit. However, owning a wand is a personal thing. Traditionally, a tree branch less than 1 inch round and is no longer than from your elbow to the tip of your longest finger, so that long, is used. In a future lesson, as I said, we'll be going through making of a wand. Now, the next one, very interesting, the cauldron. Now, what would any good witch do without their cauldron? And I hear everyone ask, where on earth can I get a cauldron from? Now, if you go online, you can find them. If you go to New Age shops or anyone that supplies Wiccan supplies, they will be able to help you out more than likely, and they will probably take anywhere from $200 to $600 from you for their efforts. stop right there. Again, yard sales or garage sales, Craigslist, Gumtree, probably not eBay unless you can get one that's a local pickup, because the posting of it will be astronomical. But yeah, if you can find one that's local pickup, so look for a second-hand one basically. And as I say, yard sales, garage sales are great because people sometimes have them shoved behind their shed because they used it on their barbecue once and it's all gone rusty and turned to absolute crap. That's great. That's what you want, because you'll get it for absolutely no money at all. Now, if you can, try and get one with 3 legs, because they just have a bit better energy, and then I'll explain why when I continue on with the lesson. Here's an example of what we got. If I can lift it. Oh. Okay, this here we picked up a few days ago, okay, and it's in atrocious condition, absolutely atrocious. Now this little baby, I think it's been used as a plant pot or something, but when I finished filming this lesson, my next video, which will be out very soon, is going to be showing you how to rejuvenate one of these. So you can pick one of these up, very cheap price, and I'll show you how to rejuvenate it. In looking for that one, I found this one. Now this one was $10 and is the most pretty ornate looking thing, and will probably end up being used by our coven just because it's so pretty. Have a look. Can you see that? Is that not just the most gorgeous thing? See, and again, this one's got potting soil inside. I think they had a plant in it. But it is absolutely beautiful. Hopefully in the next 24 hours I'll release another video that will be showing you how to rejuvenate these. And once rejuvenated, you've got a cast iron cauldron that would have cost you anything up to $600, that's got a bit of history, a bit of character, for 10 and probably 15-20 minutes of elbow grease. So I'll show you how to do that very soon. A small cauldron or bowl is placed on the altar to hold consecrated water, and for the consecrated salt to be added. You can then cast it around your circle for cleansing. Not only is it a magical tool, but symbolizes so much. The cauldron is the symbol of the goddess and is used often in ritual as a focal point. Traditionally, it's made of cast iron and rests on 3 legs. Most witches have a bowl on the altar and have a large cauldron sitting someplace of importance, like a fireplace or by the broom. Sadly these days, the old black 3-legged potbelly on 3 legs is very rare. That one is not a potbelly, but until I find a potbelly, that one is going to do nicely. However, its magical significance is very potent. The 3 legs represent the triple vision of the goddess, and the bowl of the cauldron is the womb of the goddess and a symbol of reincarnation, immortality, inspiration, transformation and rebirth. And those of you that have forgotten, the triple goddess is the maiden, the mother and the crone. In magical terms, therefore, the cauldron represents the essence of Mother Nature. The Celtic goddess of the cauldron is Ceridwen. In works of fiction, you will read of witches boiling up all kinds of hideous concoctions, such as bat's eyes and frog's tongues in a cauldron. The truth, of course, is much more down to earth. Often the strange ingredients referred to are in fact just country names for various herbs used for healing rituals. These days, few witches have open fires over which to boil a cauldron. The most usual application of the cauldron in modern Wicca is as a fireproof vessel in which to light a ritual fire. Many of the 8 Sabbats are fire festivals, and it is convenient to light a few twigs of the cauldron and place it in the centre of the circle. In such rituals, we often run around the cauldron 3 times to bring good luck. The element of the cauldron is water. The besom or broom. The besom is not considered a magical tool by some, but Christians were once terrified of the witch on her broom flying over the night sky. In reality, the broom is mostly used to sweep out negativity from your hearth and home in preparation for a ritual circle. Your broom should always be stored upright, as it keeps the bristles in good shape and also keeps the good fortune from being lost. Many witches hold their besom to be very sacred. Some even have names for their besom. To many witches, however, it is an optional extra, but it is a lovely one. Its shaft is traditionally made from the ash tree because of its protective qualities, and the brush from birch twigs, which also offer protection as well as purification. They are bound together by the young branch of the willow to instill healing and love. Moving on to the athame. The athame is an interestingly personal possession that is usually very connected to its owner. This is an athame. It's a ritual knife, usually a dagger, but it can be a sword, it can be a small knife, it can be any type of knife really. I personally associate it with being a dagger, but as I say, it could be any sort of knife. Again, this is one of those things from New Age shops that are ridiculously priced. Search eBay, Craigslist, Gumtree, second-hand stores. You can find sometimes quite ornate, antique, just kitchen knives that maybe you or a partner or a friend could take to with an angle grinder to shape the blade more along the lines of this. You can change the handle. If there's a wooden handle, you can carve it and you can burn it. I burn symbols into it and stain it. You can make it yours. But this is a very important part of Wicca, and no witch should be without one. Most witches impregnate their athame with potential power symbols and secret incantations written in magical alphabets. The blade or handle of the ritual knife are traditionally decorated with magical symbols. There is no reason why a witch or coven cannot create its own symbol for its ritual athame. Many individuals put their own astrological sign on their ritual knife to build up its magical link. Choosing an athame is one of the witch's first important acts. It must be a blade that they resonate with, a knife that feels comfortable to handle and feels right. This is respect, and it can be said, and many a witch believes, that the athame chooses you as much as you choose it. Again, traditionally, there should never be haggling over the price. Once you find it, and once consecrated, it should stay in your possession for at least a month. Nowadays, this might not be easy, as security measures and laws from country to country might make it impossible and or illegal to carry it around. We therefore recommend that the athame be carried while around the home and placed under the pillow or mattress while sleeping for at least a month. The purpose of consecrating the athame is to produce an astrological double of it, to give it its own soul, if you like. For this reason, it is given its own name. This is an old tradition and can be traced back beyond the Dark Ages. Most warriors in pagan Europe named their bladed weapons, be it a knife, dagger or sword, and attributed magical power to it. The most famous example of this, of course, is Excalibur, which came to represent the power and sovereignty of pre-Saxon Britain. Once consecrated, the athame should be treated with immense respect. To pick up someone else's athame without permission is considered by most witches to be a gross invasion of their privacy and very poor magical etiquette. When not in use, it should be wrapped in a piece of velvet material kept solely for that use. The athame represents the element of fire and obviously the sword in the tarot. Pentacle. That brings me to this week's printout. I'll read about the pentacle first. Pentacle is an ancient symbol that has been used by witches for millennia. It consists of a 5-pointed star in a circle. The 5 points of the star represent the 4 elements: air, fire, earth and water, with the top point representing the spirit. Traditionally, they were made of wood or copper, but can be made out of brass, gold, silver, wax or clay. The pentacle helps you connect with the earth element, and we will go through the various ways of making one in a future video. In the meantime, one less thing you have to worry about. That there, see that, is that pretty? I've left a link down below to this. This is a little present from the school to you. You can cut that out and you can use that as your pentacle on your altar until you make another one that you prefer, or you buy another one, you find one, whatever. But initially, this one will get you started. So print it out, preferably on a bit of thicker parchment like I've done here, and then you can cut it out and then keep it with your magical tools to go on your altar, as I say, until you find something to replace it. That link for that is down below. Now, censers and incense burners. As you can see here, can you see that there? It's just a basic wooden incense burner. There's nothing fancy about it at all. We, more often than not, will use that. We do have more elaborate ones, but to be honest, I find these ones quicker and easier to use, and the incense sticks that you burn in them are easier to come by than the incense that you burn in the coal, the charcoal burning ones. So that's why we use these. Censers and incense burners, these can be elaborate or as simple as you like. You can use elaborate censer made of brass on a chain to burn your incense, or a simple wooden holder and burn an incense stick. The burning of incense represents the air element. Okay, then we move on to bells. Now, I won't ring it because I usually ring it to symbolise the start and finish of the lesson, and we're not finished yet. You've seen my bell, you've heard my bell. Ringing a bell unleashes vibrations which have powerful effects according to its volume, tone and material of construction. The bell is a feminine symbol and is often used to invoke and evoke the goddess in ritual. It is also rung to ward off negative spells, negative spirits and negative energies. The bell is a ritual object that has been around for ages. Placed in cupboards or hung on the door, it guards the home. Okay, next is candles. We all know that candles set the mood, whether you're relaxing in the bath, you're having a romantic dinner, or there's a power cut in a storm and everything just feels nice and cozy by candlelight. Candles do set a mood. And the colour of the candle also has an effect. This here is the candle candlestick that I use on my private altar. We have a couple of these sets of 3 that we use on the altar when we're doing rituals and the coven is together. Obviously 3 symbolizing the triple goddess. These are the candles that are left over from our Samhain celebration, which was the last festival that we had, and that's why they're orange, because orange is one of the colours of Samhain. While many people may not consider this to actually be a magical tool, I do. Candles will be in the shape, scent, colour and size necessary to the magic being done, and can be inscribed with the runes, symbols, names that will focus the working. In other words, I'm not sure how self-explanatory that is. In other words, depending on what you're doing, whether you're lighting candles for healing purposes, or you're perhaps doing a love spell or a protection spell, the symbols and names and things that you carve on it can be relevant, and you can be quite specific. If you're sending, if you're doing a healing spell to a relative across town, you can carve their name into it. And blue is often used for healing, but you might not have a blue candle, but you might think, oh, I've got a yellow one, their favourite colour is yellow. Perfect. Carve their name in it. It's all symbolic, you see. And the positive energy will go out to them through the ethos, as they say. They can be dressed for the occasion as well, right? You can anoint them with oils to help scent them. They can even be hollowed out at the bottom, not so much obviously taper candles, but if you've got a pillar candle or a square block or something like that, you can hollow out the bottom, pack them with herbs, and then reseal with wax. And of course, they represent the element of fire. But when you do that, you might pack it with lavender or something. If you go around the wick and you don't break the wick, you leave it hanging, you pack it in there, say with lavender, even just lavender leaves, you seal it up again with the wax you've scooped out, you just pour it back in, leave it to set, and then burn it. Once it gets down, say you might have dug half of it out, once it gets down to halfway, all of a sudden the most wonderful aroma will come out of it, of lavender. The only thing I will caution you about is don't leave it unattended, obviously, because there's bits in there that could catch fire. Having said that, you should never leave candles unattended anyway. So, this is an odd one, people might think, but all will be revealed in the fullness of time. Cord. A 9-foot length of cord, usually made of natural fibre, can be braided or plaited and bound at both ends. You can braid or plait your own from wool or ribbon. The cord is often used for grounding, hence its element is earth. It's used for all sorts of things. You can make it into a circle to sit within it. Obviously you can use different colours. If you're doing a hand fasting ceremony, which is a form of marriage in the Wiccan faith, it actually involves binding the hands of the couple together. I mean, not for eternity, but it's symbolic. Part of the ceremony is, you use this cord to bind their hands. If you can imagine anything that needs tying down, binding together, you use the cord for. But please don't go to a shop and buy a load of acrylic, because it really does not, although it has the same effect symbolically, it doesn't have the right natural energy being generated from it, because it's man-made plastic, really. Witch's robes. The witch's robe is not exactly a magical tool, but the witch's manner of dress during rituals is important. and this will be covered in a future lesson. Okay, so we are going to be doing a lesson on Wiccan dress. Book of Shadows. The Book of Shadows, although not exactly a tool during ritual, is more of a reference book to prepare you for ritual and to document your rituals. The Book of Shadows will also be covered in a lesson on its own. But for those of you who should have seen it, okay, this is my Book of Shadows. Okay, it's actually leather, and you can see there, you see that it's hand bound. It's absolutely beautiful. There's a guy in England who sells these, and you get them in all different. They are very expensive, but it's a book that's going to be with you till you cross over to the other side. So it's worth the investment to me. And they come in all shapes, sizes, designs, colours. But when we get to covering the Book of Shadows, I will give you all the information for the gentleman that makes them, and you'll be able to contact him yourself and have a look at what he's got and organise to get one, and because he makes it to your order. It's not sitting on a shelf. Once you order it, he will then make what you want. So it's very exciting, so you can look forward to that. This week's assignment is start collecting your ritual tools. Now in this, obviously I've covered the basics. There will be other things that will be added along the way that perhaps aren't as important as these ones. But if you print this out, again there's a link for this printout below. It's got the list of everything in there. Start collecting them. Remember to check charity shops, second-hand shops, garage and yard sales, as well as Craigslist, Gumtree, or whatever second-hand online website you have in your country that's equivalent. And don't forget cheap shops. Sometimes you can pick up bargains in cheap shops. Remember, do not haggle over the price. And once you have them, start making them your own. Think about ways that you can change them or make them your own. Carry them with you. Name them. Have them on you when you meditate. And protect them from others. They should not be touched. And they can be cleansed in full moon ritual. But that's coming up. There's so much to learn at once. But the moon rituals are coming up. So you will be able to cleanse things in the light of the moon. That is it for this week's lesson. As usual, down below is the email address to the school, and you can email me directly on that. Remember what I said at the beginning of the video about the comments section below. Positive thoughts and encouragement for your fellow students only, please. The printout for today's lesson, there is a link down below for you to be able to download that onto your computer. You either can keep it on there or print out a hard copy. Obviously, it's all stored on my computer, but as you can see, I print out all hard copies because I like to have reference to it without looking at a computer screen the whole time. So that's that. You also can make notes in the margins if you want to with paper. You can't do that on your computer because it damages the screen when you write on it. I know, I've tried. Anyway, that, as I say, is a little thank you from Hilltop School of Witchcraft. Keep that to go on your first altar. I think that's all. There's a link below, of course, to the rest of the Wiccan lessons. They're going in a playlist as they're being released. So the playlist, there is a link down below in case you've missed out on any. If this is the first one you've watched because you've stumbled across it by accident, welcome. but go to the playlist and start at the beginning and watch us all the way through. Down below is the link to our affiliate with the book depository. You need to buy any books for any purpose, whether it be Wicca or anything else. Click on there, it will take you to the book depository and make your purchases through there, and it will help our channel. Also, look out in the next day or so. There will be a video released on the channel. I will make sure I start its description with the word Wicca, so that you know it's part of the Wiccan series and nothing to do with Hilltop Farm itself. And it'll be on rejuvenating the cauldrons. So if you want to watch that, that way you can save yourself a fortune and buy a second-hand cauldron with character and just rejuvenate it yourself. So look out for that. I want to thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below or email me through that email address down below and I will get back to you. If you like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any more videos, and hit the little bell next to the subscribe button so that if you're lucky, YouTube will notify you every time we release a video. And until next time, it's goodbye from Hilltop Farm. See ya!